Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more geography now, and we are now on to Samoa. We are officially in the COVID era of geography now. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I'd love you to join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch, and please do go check out the gaming channel here on YouTube. All that said, the yapping in these intros, no more. Let's dive in.
If Polynesia was a family, Samoa would be kind of like the kingpin great-grandfather. Technically, every Samoan is considered royalty, but it all comes down to how good of a royal can you be. I mean, sure, if you got ties to the Ainga Tupu, it helps, but anything is up for grabs in Ofono o Matai if your Falupenga is on point, and once you got the Tama a Ainga title, you can secure a spot as the Ola au Ola Malo.
Huh?
It's
What?
time to learn geography.
What?
Now! This is going to be a fun episode. I love the Pacific Island nations because they are some of the least studied places on Earth with some of the most vibrant stories and traditions. Also, yes, we did have a social media campaign to try and get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in this episode. Art and I actually kind of went up to his management office in Beverly Hills to see if we could reach out to him.
Yeah, so we showed up at his management office, and it was kind of awkward. They kind of looked at us like we're like from outer space or something like that.
Yeah, we got rejected.
We got rejected so bad. It's like,
and then the whole coronavirus thing happened, so we probably wouldn't have been able to film with him anyway. So
right.
We overshot the runway too much on this.
We're worthless.
Anyway, in compliance with social distancing practices, obviously Caleb and Jillian live in my house, so they're cool with being in these episodes. Art is one of my closest neighbors. We live within walking distance, so Art's gonna be in these episodes too.
And his mom makes really good chicken soup, so it's literally the only reason why I come over here.
And we will have occasional guest stars, but only one at a time: Keith, Noah, and Hannah. That's how this is gonna work out.
All right, anyway, let's jump into the episode.
Samoa.
I respect it.
You can't have Polynesia with
Feel like I was wanting to say something more, and I'm just blanking on what I wanted. Oh, it's about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I don't really like him that much. I used to love him, and now I'm just kind of getting the vibe that not that good a guy. No, he just seems super self-centered, very self-centered. That's really it. Just that vibe of seeming super self-centered. I just not fuck with.
without starting and branching out from Samoa. All the Polynesian cousins sailed their ships out from Samoa at one point, and let's see where that point is on the map. The country is located in Oceania in the Pacific Ocean, specifically in the largest subregion known as Polynesia, shaped like a triangle starting in New Zealand, going up to Hawaii, and ending in Easter Island. Polynesia has over 1,000 islands and archipelagos straddling millions of square kilometers of ocean territory. Samoa, though, is located about halfway between New Zealand and Hawaii, sandwiched between their cousins Tuvalu and Tonga. Now, keep in mind, the independent nation of Samoa is different from the U.S. overseas territory of American Samoa, which sits at the shortest distance, less than 100 miles or 160 kilometers.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I didn't think there was a difference. I thought when you talked about Samoa, that was also in conjunction you were talking about American Samoa. I don't know why I thought that. But yeah, I just thought like Samoa was one of those countries, like I don't know, I just assumed it had some weird kind of one of those weird recognition kind of things where it's owned by America in a way, but it's also largely independent, that sort of vibe. No, I'm fucking wrong.
Away. Keep in mind, though, the most absolutely mind-boggling thing between these islands is that they are literally divided by the international dateline, which means they share the same time of day, but are exactly 24 hours apart, with American Samoa perpetually living in yesterday land and Samoa.
That's just so fucking weird to me. I could not. My brain would hurt living in those areas, living there, and then like consciously being aware of that. Like, yo, you know that next closest island to us? Yeah, they're in yesterday. It's Tuesday here, but it's still Monday for them. What? That would hurt my head.
Samoa in Tomorrowland. Technically, you can go to the future or past within a quick 35-minute flight between them. This is kind of why people typically buy 2 one-way tickets instead of a round-trip package when traveling between the 2 islands. It's like,
Wow, American Samoa was pretty cool, but I think I'll just take one of those 35-minute flights over to the country of Samoa. When will I arrive?
In just over 24 hours.
Wait, what? How is that even possible? Well, when will I return?
Yesterday.
yeah, it can be a nightmare if you've never done it before. In any case, the country
Yeah. Oh, I can already imagine the fucking headache. Ooh. You know, I'm never going. I'm going from ever traveling, which is probably unlikely in this economy. If I were to ever go to one of these places, I would probably just go. Well, go as an American, it would probably be easier to just go to American Samoa. I'd probably want to just go to the country of Samoa, you know? I'd probably go to American Samoa first on one separate vacation and then go back home to the USA. And then, like, if I liked the vibe of American Samoa or something, I don't know, then go to the country of Samoa. And then the next time, I have to deal with that confusing shit.
is made up of 2 main islands
brain
that
is
make
small,
up about
man.
99% of the landmass, Upolu, where about 75% of the population lives, and Savaii, which has the remaining 25%. In addition, there are other smaller islands and rocks, such as Manono and Apolima in the Apolima Strait, the 4 Alepata Islands in the east off the coast of Upolu, Nu'utele, Nu'uala, Vanuatapu, and Namua, and finally, small little in the south just by the town of Putasi. Out of these islands, the country is divided into 11 Itumalo, or political districts, which are actually tied into historical Samoan communities that predate European contact. And the capital of the country, Apia, is located on the north side of Upolu Island. The country has 1 main international airport, Faleolo International. Otherwise, the country has 3 other regional airports on Savaii, whereas Upolu has this extra one, but it was closed in 2019, but it might reopen. The locals are always arguing about it. From there, each island has a ring road that goes around the coasts, and ferry services operate between the islands daily, as well as ferries and flights between them and the U.S. territory of American Samoa. Keep in mind, all together, Samoa and American Samoa are collectively just called the Samoan Islands. However, sometimes to make the distinction, you might hear the titles Western Samoa for Samoa and American Samoa or East Samoa for the U.S. territory of American Samoa. Yeah, in 2011, they actually moved the country's date ahead 1 day and skipped December 30th. This was actually done to kind of boost their trade relations with New Zealand and Australia. It was like, hey New Zealand, it's Friday, let's do some export deals.
Oh, sorry, man. Even though you're like 1 longitude length away, it's Saturday here and our offices are closed on weekends, man.
Oh,
All right, look, man, this is ridiculous. This whole you being in yesterday thing is kind of stupid. Just switch it up and join our side.
you're right. Hey, American Samoa.
No, I'm good.
Fun fact, each Itumalo actually kind of has their own constitution called a fa'avae, based on the order of each district's falupenga. What is a falupenga? Basically, it's like a special greeting that each of the district chiefs have to memorize when they go and visit another district chief.
So it's like a passcode or something.
No, it's a formal greeting acknowledging the history and lineage of the village and introducing yourself based off of your lineage and history. And it's all spoken in proper Samoan.
So it's like a Shakespearean greeting.
Kind of. You have to be very eloquent if you're going to be one of the orator chiefs. For example, like this. Anyway, if you decide to visit some top notable spots that you guys, the Samoan geography...
I didn't understand a single word because I do not speak Samoan. So, man, this is one of the things that I'm salty about when it comes to the education system in America. Not now. I think it's changing. I think maybe access to learning other languages is becoming more and more available to kids at younger ages, starting in like elementary school, which is, I think, scientifically the best. They say the best place to start learning a second language, because you'll be training your young brain to be better capable of, just understanding multiple languages. However the fuck language works, language is weird. But that was not the case for me. Well, it kind of was. I did martial arts as a kid. You kind of start learning a little bit of Japanese, but you don't really learn it as a way to speak it in sentences or communicate. You kind of just learn terms for much of it. It really isn't until you get to the higher levels when you actually start to it actually becomes something maybe you will have to speak. But yeah, I tried learning French. I took French in like 8th grade, middle school, end of middle school. And then I did it for 3 years in high school. 3 of my 4 years in high school, and don't remember fucking shit in French. I'm curious if I had learned it as a child, starting in like elementary school, if I would have actually, kept it or whatever. Obviously, if you don't speak it regularly, you're gonna lose the skill. But one thing one of the gripes, one of the many numerous, almost endless gripes that I have with the American education system.
Suggested I mention in this episode include the Market, or Maketifu, the Samoan Cultural Village, the Robert Louis Stevenson Museum, the EFKS Museum of Fine Arts, the Falea Lupo Ruins, Moso's Footprint, the Salea Ula Lava Field Ruins, the largest fale at the University of Samoa, the ancient star mound of Manono Island, the House of Rock, the Vanya Taule Alo Gallery, the Government House. There are many churches and places of worship like these, and there are so many natural spots and so many waterfalls, the most famous waterfall probably being Papapapaitai Falls. And there's so many caves as well, like the Dwarfs Caves and the Piula Cave
I'm not going to no
pools.
cave.
The most famous notable spot and landmark, though, would probably be the Pulemele Pyramid Mound. Also, keep in mind they do have a lot of amazing beaches, but almost none of them are public because they are owned by families or villages, so you'll have to pay a little fee to get on the beach. But anyway, speaking of beaches and natural landscape,
as long as the private people that own those beaches, or the villages that own those beaches, as long as that is all like native Samoan controlled, totally don't care about paying a fine for that, a fee to get access to those, because that's the kind of shit you want to support, right? But if it's like outside companies owning them, specifically European, well, I don't know. Are the Chinese trying to buy up? I'm sure the Chinese government is trying to do the same thing as the Western powers have done for centuries. But anyways, yeah, as long as it's not foreign owned and it's native controlled, no problem fucking paying a fee to get access to that.
now let's be for real. When you're in the middle of the ocean alone and isolated, every little bit of land matters. And with Samoa, they got kind of the jackpot. First of all, Samoa lies on the Pacific Plate, right at the top of the Tonga Trench, part of a larger, highly volcanic area known as the Ring of Fire that circumvents the fringes of the entire Pacific Ocean. The volcanic activity is essentially what formed the islands, as it lies on the Samoa hotspot, one of many noted magma plume upwellings that can be found scattered throughout the oceans of the world. Only one volcano is classified as active, Mount Matavanu on Savaii Island, which last erupted for 6 years continuously between 1905 and 1911.
What?
It formed about 40 square miles or 100 square kilometers of new land in the form of a lava field on the north side. The tallest peak of the country, though, is Mount Silisili, which means highest, which is also located on Savaii and is a dormant stratovolcano. From here, the two longest rivers, the Vaimali and Maliolio rivers, flow downward from the central Savaii mountain spine. The largest inland body of fresh water, however, is actually Lake Manoto'o, a small crater lake found on the top of a hill on Upolu Island, just south of the capital. As an equatorial nation, they fall within the monsoon climate zone, where temperatures are consistently warm almost year-round, and the rainy season lasts between November and April. Occasionally, they might find themselves in the path of tropical storms or cyclones as well. Another cool thing is that Samoa was kind of volcanically formed, a little different from all the other Polynesian islands. The distinct lava flow on the sides of Savaii Island were carved by strong waves, creating a complex underground cave system that eventually tunneled upwards to the surface, which is where you get the famous alofaga or taga blowholes. These water jets are created by pressure that flows into the tunnels from the ocean. Sometimes people like putting coconuts on these water jets and then blasting them upwards. Now, as a tropical Polynesian nation, of course, yes, Samoa is very lush and green. About a fifth of the land is arable, and about 2/3 of the country are either employed or involved in agriculture. Agricultural products and fishing in themselves make up about 90% of exports, whereas the service sector employs about half of the workforce, mostly in tourism and hospitality, which make up about 1/4 of their GDP. Nearly 250,000 people travel to Samoa and visit every every single year, and the number has actually been growing quite a bit in the past few years as Polynesian travel publicity has skyrocketed, you know, with the help of notable Polynesian-based movies and films and stars highlighting their heritage. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw, dang, Mr. Rock, I will never forget that Uso battle scene or the helicopter car chain thing. That's Samoa! In addition, Samoa is known for having a wide array of unique animal species. And with that, it's time for our animal correspondent, Gary Harlow, to step in. Jillian.
Hey guys.
Oh.
Gary Harlow's not here right now. He's actually deworming a blue elephant, but
We need someone to do this, though.
like many other islands of the Pacific, Samoa doesn't have
Damn, she's not doing the accent. Beans.
any endemic mammal species, the only true ones being bats and Polynesian rodents. Pigs, dogs, and cats are all over, but were introduced to the islands later by people. Otherwise, the country is loaded with reptiles like the native Samoan skink, the Polynesian gecko, and the Pacific boa.
Gecko.
Heaps of marine species like parrotfish, surgeonfish, yellowfin tuna, and
I
whales.
can't do a Gary Harlow. Heck, I can't do that accent, so I'm not gonna try. I can do it like not if I'm actively listening to Gary Harlow, I can like imitate it for now and again, but I can't do it on my own without a reference.
And birds are everywhere. Over 80% are endemic and found nowhere else on Earth, like the Samoan flycatcher, the mau, fantail, and the national animal, the manumea, or tooth-billed pigeon. And that's it for me.
Yay! And now we finish off this segment as we always do. Food! Here are some of the top notable dishes of Samoa that you guys, the Samoan geography, suggested I mention. Faiai eleni, palusami, fa'alifu fa'i, otaia, suaia, fa'ausi, kopai, panipopo, panikeke, keke pua'a, keke saina, suafa'i, and very often at celebrations or occasions or even just on Sundays, you'll see the umus happening all the time. Yeah, Samoans are incredibly communal people. They take filial piety and ancestor veneration to a whole new level. And with that, that brings us to... Now, when it comes to Samoa, you kind of have to know Fa'a Samoa, or the Samoan way. Every true Samoan knows about this, and in some way, shape, or form, to some degree, it affects their life. Everything you are and have, from land to water to birthright, are rooted back to the start. It's hard to understand, we'll explain in a bit. But first, Samoa has about 200,000 people and is the country with the highest population of native Polynesians in the world, and there are actually even more Samoans living abroad than there are in Samoa, at about 600,000 globally. The country is made up primarily of native Samoan people, a Polynesian group at about 92% of the population. About 7% are Euronesians, whom are people that are mixed with European.
You know, 92% Samoan. I was actually expecting that percentage to be higher. I was expecting, I can't think of any of the countries off the top of my head. I was thinking like a 95 to 96% kind of at the low end. That would have been my guess. But I guess no.
And Islander ancestry, in this case mostly half Samoan people, and the remainder of the population is mostly white and East Asian, coming from countries like South Korea and China. They use the tala as their currency, they use the type I plug outlet, and they drive on the left.
No! It's the wrong side of the road, Samoa. Why? So close to greatness.
Side of the road. The main official language of the country, of course, is Samoan. It is the most prominently spoken Polynesian language in the world. And after that, English is co-official. Again, they have a history with the British and New Zealanders, blah, blah, blah. Believe it or not, if World War I did not happen, Samoa actually might have been speaking German today. In any case, back to the confusing lineage thing. There's a saying in Samoan, ole ala ile pule, ole tautua, which means the path to leadership is through service. Samoa has a very unique system that fuses both modern and traditional ruling systems. Today, their government is classified as a parliamentary republic. However, it takes strongly into account the traditional Fa'amatai system. What is the Fa'amatai system? Well, it's actually pretty simple. See, it all starts out with the 4 original paramount chieftain dynasty families that created the nation, known as the Tama'a'ainga. There was also a 5th one for American Samoa, but technically that one doesn't count. Keep in mind, the head of state or ceremonial president, or the Ole'au Olemalo, always has one or more of these titles in his name. From these 4 dynasties, the 16 royal families, or the Ainga Tupu, were created. They were the ones that originally ruled the Itumalo. From there, the towns and villages have a matai, which means chief. They meet in a fono o matai, or council of other chiefs. You can be a regular matai or a matai sili, which means high-level chief. The chiefs come in two forms, the ali'i, or head chief, and the tulafale, or orator chief, who does all the talking, debating, and announcing. Once you are a matai, you are generally expected to hold the title until you die. On rare occasions will they cede the title. Keep in mind, off to the sides, there might also be a pule nu'u, a lower-level assistant who helps facilitate the matai duties. From there, you have a taupo, a chief's daughter or female relative, usually from the ali'i. She holds an important role in preparing the ava ceremony for the matai events. Sometimes a male or manaya can hold this role too, but often it is female. If a matai dies or is somehow unable to hold the title and it becomes available, everyone in the immediate family is a suli or candidate heir to the matai title, and a series of speeches or concessions begin to find who will become the next matai. Both men and women can fill the role. However, statistically, about 90% of matai have been men and about 10% have been female. From there, you have the unranked plain village people, or the
I'm confused.
Tanu, or the Taule Alea, usually made up of younger people or people uninterested in holding traditional titles. See? Simple. Also keep in mind, the Avas...
I don't think that... understand. I think I get why they chose to do the graphic in that way, but I feel like the way in which that they did it, it made it harder to follow. I don't like this. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the subconsciously it's the font that they chose for this that's throwing me off and making it, I don't know, harder to follow. Like a small thing like that, but there's just something about this that is hard for me to follow.
people or people uninterested in holding traditional titles. See? Simple. Also keep in mind, the Avas...
And of course it could also just be all those names being in a different language that I am completely unfamiliar with. That could be it too.
ceremony is incredibly important to Samoan culture. It's used for all occasions, but especially for the matai title bestowing ceremonies, like when a new matai becomes a matai. The bitter drink is prepared by people called the aumaga using a tanoa bowl and wringing out the roots of the mildly psychoactive kava plant. If you see this, then y'all know that some serious is going on. Taking all of that into account, you can probably see by now that Samoa is very steadfast in maintaining tradition and culture. Faith-wise, Samoa is pretty religious. About 98% of the population is Christian, the largest groups being Protestant-based, and often you might even find yourself in the middle of a prayer session. If you do, just be respectful, tone it down a little bit, or you can even participate if you want. Traditionally though, their ancestors followed a form of Polynesian mythology that had numerous deities and spirits called Atua and Aitu. Interestingly enough, statistically, Polynesia is one of the few areas on Earth which has a birth rate of males that is higher than that of females. Today, the ratio sits at around 1.07 to 1 in Samoa. Anyway, the traditional house is called a fale, a round, thick, thatched roof gazebo type of structure with no walls, but blinds or nets can be draped down on the sides in between the columns holding up the roof. I mean, the weather is almost warm consistently throughout the year, so Samoans didn't really have to worry about insulation. Fine mats called toga are probably the most prized artifact of the country. They're used in all occasions. They're given away as gifts at weddings and ceremonies and so on. They're used for everything, even when you want to seek forgiveness from someone that you've wronged. It's actually even a tradition for them to cover themselves in a toga outside of the person's house with their extended family members as a sign of atonement. Often you will see people wearing lava cloth. It's the national cloth of the country, worn both by men and women. Usually men will just drape it around their waists. Women will make it into a body wrap dress. During celebrations, ceremonies, whatever, you might often find men doing the fa'ataupati slap dance and the slower, more poised siva dance by women. Speaking of which, they have a ton of cool festivals like the Fire Knife Festival, the Fautasi Outrigger Canoe Competition, the Tafasila Fa'i Festival, and the biggest one, Teuila, held around September with the biggest activities, performances, and cuisine displays. And then you get to the traditional tattoos, made out of shark's teeth and soot. And I'm getting kind of tired of all this. Actually, you know what, Art, just host this
Glad
segment.
to see I'm your second
You're the last
choice.
you're the last resort. So
The
yeah.
last resort. Now, across Polynesia, you'll see tattoos everywhere as they are a universal rite of passage. But each island and country has their own unique way of doing it. Unlike their cousins, the Maori, Samoan tattoos don't have spirals or curves. They're typically straight, geometric, and extend from the ribcage to the knees. Men's tattoos are called pea, and women's are called malu. And for women, the tattoos only extend from the thighs to the knees. It's a well-known fact that Samoans are famous for their athletic prowess. Historically, the Polynesian men were trained to be big and strong for warfare and competition. I mean, they even had some really cool weaponry. They had an impressive assortment of clubs, axes, daggers, maces, and spears. Did I just say daggers?
You said daggers.
daggers.
Did I just say dagger? Daggers. Anthropologists speculate that
I noticed it too. I just didn't want to say anything.
in addition to the
I don't
possible
wanna
genetic
insult him.
predisposition to gain more muscle, the abundance of available sustenance year-round on the island or seas around them allowed them to eat more and gain more mass. On the downside, Samoa and other Pacific islands have some of the highest rates of obesity as well as other health-related problems. In any case, Samoan and Pacific
I wonder why that is, because it's not like, I mean, obviously now in the modern age they probably have more access to fast food chains, but I still feel like they don't really, in proportion to other countries, specifically USA, specifically Western countries, hell, and even, you know, countries like Japan or even Indonesia, I would say Samoa doesn't have as much access to fast food as they do. And of course, obviously, obesity is not just tied alone to fast food. It's all about consumption in moderation and such. But still, they, you know, the vibe that I get from Samoa is that it's a pretty active country. And, you know, right? Like, so I'm curious what exactly it is that causes that obesity in the Polynesian island. Are they not as active as the vibe that they give off? Like, I feel like that can't be it. I mean, obviously, maybe they just love food, which understandable. Food is great. But usually there's, like, in the USA, I think it would be, in most places, I think you can tie obesity to food deserts, specifically in cities, because of lack of access to grocery stores. So people end up having to go towards places that are not as healthy options. That's one of the problems, at the very least, within the United States. It comes to food health and obesity. So I wonder what that is for. It's like for Samoa.
Islander men are top contenders for recruiting seasons in rugby and American football leagues. In the NFL, a Samoan male is often somewhere around 40 to 60 times more likely to be recruited against a non-Samoan counterparts, especially for a lineman or linebacker position, because they are freaking huge, and the NFL wants huge people.
You played football too, Art, didn't you?
I did play football. Yes, I did. I might be considered big, but those guys are like really big. Speaking of big, Keith, he's been eating a sandwich.
Jealous? You jealous of this?
I've never spanked a belly like that before.
Oh, by the way, this is my buddy's band, Protein Collective. They're sick. Go check them out. Due to fair use laws, don't sue us, or placement or whatever. Just don't sue. As a Polynesian country, Samoa is heavily rooted in traditional sounds. As a country with no formal writing
Every time Keith comes on screen, I just feel like he absolutely got high as fuck before coming on screen.
system, they depend heavily on oral tradition by documenting incidents through song and dance. Samoans love singing. Check out the Samoan High Note Challenge. Those videos are hilarious. Much of the music can be performed with traditional instruments like these. And maybe some of these. Otherwise, today, modern genres like Samoan-style R&B, poly reggae, and like jazz have made waves of popularity amongst the younger generation. Well, since I don't have a bass today, I guess I can uke my way on out of here.
Thank you, Keith. And now it's time for the very condensed history segment of this episode. In the quickest way I can put it, Austronesians sail in and settle Samoa. The four Tama Aiga chieftain dynasties begin. The legendary warrior queen Nanafuna starts the Matai system. The Aingatupu royal family is established. More of Polynesia is settled. Samoa is taken over and breaks free from the Tui Tonga Empire. First European contact from British and Dutch in the 1700s. Missionaries bringing Christianity. Americans, British, and Germans all claim parts of Samoa. First Samoan Civil War fought between rival Samoan factions. Second Samoan Civil War. Germany takes over for 14 years. The East Islands become a U.S. territory. Mao movement for independence. World War I. The UK creeps in, kicks out the Germans. Samoa becomes a territory of New Zealand. Spanish flu kills off a fifth of the population. 1962 independence. New Zealand's Helen Clark issues a formal apology for the incidents of the 20th century. Samoa's last king dies at age 95. Samoa switches time zones. Hobbs and Shaw save the world from evil. And here we are today. Some of the top notable people from Samoa that you guys suggested I mention discussion in this episode include historical figures like Malietoa Laupepa, Malietoa Tanu Mafili the First, Luaki Namulau Ulu Mamoe, Malietoa Tanu Mafili the Second, as well as Cardinal Pio Taufinu. Tons of professional athletes like these, lots of boxers like these, weightlifters, rugby players, American football players, wrestlers, people in the business, arts, and entertainment area like KJ Apa, Robbie Magasiva, Jay Lagaaya, Beula Koale, Sima Urale, Nick Afoa, Paris Gobel, Albert Wendt, Aggie Gray, of course Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and of course there are so many famous musicians and artists and bands like these. I'm just gonna put a bunch of them up on the screen. And finally, just some miscellaneous ones: Latafale Auva'a, Amy Maslin Miller, Chief Cielu Avea, and the Circus of Samoa. Yeah, for such a small island nation, Samoans have really stuck themselves out as Samoan special. Anyway, off to the last segment, the friend zone. Now, ocean island nations have always kind of been an interesting place when it comes to diplomacy, because everything is so spread apart that you kind of need anyone within the vast open void to lean on. That being said, Samoa does have quite a few contacts in their Rolodex. Although Fiji is classified as Melanesian, their close proximity to Samoa helps them act as like a bridge between Melanesia and Polynesia. Business, travel, and trade are not only huge between them, both countries kind of piggyback off of each other as well. Fijians even have their own version of the Ava ceremony, and they even created their own haka chant at sporting events like the Maori of New Zealand. Tonga is kind of like the best rival cousin. I mean, a long time ago they did kind of take over Samoa in the Tui Tonga Empire, and there were numerous battles and wars between them, but that was like so long ago and everybody's forgotten about it. The two are close now. The countries and islands that culturally identify closest to Samoa, though, would probably be their immediate siblings Tuvalu and the three association states of New Zealand, Tokelau, Cook Islands, and Niue. Specifically, Tuvalu and Tokelau have the closest languages to Samoan. Some even say it's just a dialect. They all have very similar customs and cultures, as well as family lineages, as their ancestors fled to nearby islands, intermarried, and kept in touch pretty well. New Zealand is their biggest business partner and specifically plays a huge role in Samoa's affairs, and in 1962 they signed a treaty of friendship after independence. New Zealand has the largest Samoan population outside of Samoa. They are the largest hub of travel to Samoa. They are in charge of their military protection, and Samoa can request channels of communication to international organizations through New Zealand. When it comes to the ones closest to them, though, Samoans will probably say the American territory of Samoa. Essentially, they are the same people. Sure, one speaks with a Kiwi accent, the other speaks with an American. One drives on the right side, the other on the left. One plays rugby.
The correct side.
The other one plays American football. But otherwise, same people. American Samoa actually had the chance to join them back in 1966 when the UN threw out the option, but surprisingly, they voted to stay as a territory of the US and take on US benefits. Nonetheless, both of them follow the same Fa'a Samoa system of life. They both have the Matai and Fale culture, and overall, they get each other the best. In conclusion, you cannot have Polynesia without Samoa. Everything between New Zealand, Hawaii, and Easter Island starts here. They are masters of the ocean, and if you are lucky to meet a Samoan, technically, you could address them by saying, Your Majesty. Stay tuned, San Marino is coming up next.
And that was Geography Now, Samoa. This went longer than I thought. I had things to say, I guess. I've got nothing else to add here at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a good episode. Really no complaints with this one. Was there even a food segment? Hold on. Yeah, there was. It wasn't long at all. It was like 5 seconds. Okay, I have one complaint. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.